This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
The biggest icon in podcasting.
Welcome everybody to this week's edition of Doc and Jock. I am the Doc, John Macaroon. Joining me, my cousin Adam, the Jock Strozinski. Bro, it just seems like every 3 years we're talking about a new Detroit Lions coach and new Detroit Lions general manager. If you hear a little extra pep in my step, it's all good in the sports world from my end because finally the 2.5-year-long nightmare is over. It just feels like the collective breath has been kind of like, the pressure has been relieved, at least from Lions fans. A renewed sense of hope when Sheila Ford Hamp decided after that debacle on Thanksgiving, on Saturday, in the middle, the fourth quarter of the Michigan game, she decided, all right, Quinn, Patricia, out of here. And for me, I've been happy. It's been great. People are excited. You're, on the other hand, I think a little bit more frustrated in regards to the entire process because I understand that side of it where you go, dude, you could have did this last year. You could have advanced the cause a year sooner. But this is the Ford family. They don't know what the heck they're doing.
Yeah, so I was a little bit frustrated with the entire situation, and it was more because you're right. They could have did it a year ago, and they could have saved all of us this issue that we've had all season long. You also could have drafted your franchise future quarterback. You also could have not put whoever's going to come in to clean up this mess so far behind the eight ball, because whoever's coming into this has a ton of heavy lifting to do. The way Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia really set this organization back. This was an organization when they took over that seemed like it was working its way into a position to be a regular contender for the division, be a playoff contender, and now we're kind of right back to where we were before all of that. It almost feels Millen-esque. And I think the big issue I had with what came out on Saturday was the fact that Sheila Hamp was working to keep Bob Quinn around. So obviously she found no faults in what Bob Quinn with this previous draft, found no faults with the guys that Bob Quinn has brought in for Matt Patricia's system. Basically, she put it to Bob Quinn and was like, hey, you're going to have to fire Matt if you want to keep your job. And Bob Quinn was like, hey, we're bros and we stick together. I'm not firing him. You're going to have to fire both of us. And she was like, all right, cool. Then you're both gone. The fact that Bob Quinn was even thought to be kept around shows that there is a ton of red flags with this organization with what's going to happen next. And what's going to happen next, this is where my other issue comes in. And it's with the coverage in this town. And it includes you guys over at All SI or All Lions SI. So once Bob Quinn got fired, once Matt Patricia got fired, everybody starts writing stories about who the next head coach is going to be. Sheila Hamp's not the one who makes that call. That's the next general manager. Everybody was so quick to find out who the next head coach is going to be. What you really should be doing is looking at who the next GM is going to be.
That was
we really need to start there.
Yeah.
Those articles came out days later. Everybody wants to go to replace the head coach. No. This is an entire organizational issue. You've got to find out who the GM is. The GM's going to make that call.
No, absolutely. And I think I'm getting the sense that it's going to be a tandem because of how things have worked, but it could not be. I think that it's going to be a comprehensive search. It was real interesting. But first, before we get into all that, I want to know, where were you? Were you watching the Michigan game when the news broke? And what was your initial reaction? Were you mad? Were you just like, okay, good, finally? Or did you start then emoting? Or where were you? Because I was watching the Michigan game right there. I was right there on the laptop. It came, and, like everyone, Dave Burkett already released it. We already wrote it. It was like, duh. It was pretty much the worst kept secret that it was going to happen. So
everybody just had to hit send.
Yeah, that's it. That's all we did was we hit send, and luckily we got it a minute later, and it was all good. So I just had to add Bob Quinn too, because that was really the only question mark. Is that where were you?
So the Michigan game was on in the background. I was paying little to no attention because that Michigan football team sucks ass right now. So I was actually in the process of cleaning, and all of a sudden on my watch, it came through that they had been fired. It came through as an ESPN alert. and I stopped vacuuming, and I went running through the house looking for my phone, and I couldn't get enough of it. And this was one of those things where after the Thanksgiving Day game, I had been sitting around like all day Thanksgiving, all day Friday, just waiting. Like you said, everybody knew. Like when I tell you I was waiting on Thanksgiving, I was in the middle of eating pumpkin pie, and somebody made a joke that Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia just got fired, and I got up and ran to my phone real quick to check everything. And then I was engrossed in trying to see if they were actually messing with me or not. They were just kind of screwing with me at the table, and everybody just kind of let me go through my motions of trying to figure out if they had actually been fired or not before somebody finally was like, oh, no, we're just kidding. And I was like, damn it. So it was one of those things. It was joyous. I was excited. I was pumped. It was one of those things where the Michigan game was on. I was paying little to no attention because this team is complete frustration right now. And I was excited, man. I was wondering what you were doing because I know that you have a family. You're a really good dad. You're oftentimes doing a lot of cool things with your kids. So the fact that you had it already written was great. And I was wondering if you did that because there are times where you
tough.
Just have it and you have it locked and loaded and ready to go.
Oh yeah, no, that's the thing you learn because it's something when you do this, you realize, okay, you got to have the information ready. It was straightforward. Once I think that picture was released of Sheila Ford Hamp at Ford Field with her head down, you knew that was an embarrassment. It was a debacle. And plus, people reveal things in their information, in their tweets and stuff like that. People said, hey, pay attention. Matt never talks about his family. After the loss, he thanked his wife and things like that. The writing was on the wall. He knew. And I think that it was a situation where everybody involved knew. The team wasn't playing well. The questions kept coming. And it was not like the team was like competitive. They got blown out 20-0, and then they got embarrassed on national television by the Houston Texans. So the writing was on the wall. I think everybody knew. And Matt Patricia's a smart guy, so I think he dropped a couple hints too that potentially, he knew what was coming down the pike. And I think that look, in regards to the situation in which people want to know about the head coach, I think that. I don't know. I think most people did it maybe in regards to what people thought is most, what people want to know most is who's going to be the next head coach. Obviously because of how Bob Quinn handled it. He spoke once or twice a year, and it was basically a position that was way in the background, whereas the head coach is the guy talking every single day, the guy in charge. Right away we want to know who's the interim head coach. So it makes sense that, obviously you would think that the Detroit Lions will hire the general manager and then will allow the general manager to hire the head coach. But I'm thinking that it's got to be two people working together, hand in hand, probably something totally different than the Patriot way. You got to have two individuals working in tandem and lockstep. But I guess where everyone kind of is wondering because of the fact that Rod Wood is still going to be working with Sheila, do you have any confidence that they'll get the right person? Because it just has that feel. And it sucks to say it, but we've been doing this now nearly a decade. You just got to feel, and I hope it doesn't happen this way if it's Robert Saleh, and everyone knows why I'm on that train. But it just has that feel that if Robert Saleh comes here and Bieniemy goes to Houston, Houston's going to shine. And if Bieniemy comes here and Saleh goes to Houston, then Saleh will shine there. It just has something like there's an air of futility that just can't get broken through from the Lions in regards to what organization do you ever see where when a coach gets fired, you get like 5 players going, yeah, this is great on social media and posting up deuces and being like, oh, I'm going to check in on Bob, see if he's doing all right. I've never seen that before. And only the Detroit Lions would hire a coach that really nobody likes. And I think that maybe the big mistake was
Houston was in a similar spot.
Yeah.
Houston with Bill O'Brien had something similar happen. I don't think the players were as vocal as the players with the Lions, but what I think you kind of got from those messages is Matt Patricia was a bad guy. Matt Patricia was a head coach that nobody wanted to play for, and he was so divisive, and he split that locker room in half. And a head coach, you're supposed to pull a locker room together. If your team is bad, if you're a good head coach, your guys will go out there and they'll play for you. They'll play for themselves. They'll play for their teammates, but they're going to play extra hard for you. And nobody wanted to play for Matt Patricia. Telling guys that he's going to take their careers away from them? Come on, man. That's not a good leader. That's not a good head coach.
Especially when you come in roughshod and you don't know that in this NFL you're going to come in acting like Bill Belichick. I just think that he couldn't read the room. And look, there's some players that obviously have a lot of respect for him. It's football. Winning cures all. And I know that we look at it and we go, oh, how big is it that how important and how relevant is it, how much the players like the coach. Look, that's kind of soft stuff to talk about. Bottom line, the dude couldn't convey what was in his brain to the players out on the football field. I mean, when you have Amani Oruwariye, who's not the most fleet of foot cornerback, up against Will Fuller, and you only have a single high safety with not a lot of help, he's going to get torched on an early third down because Dan Orlovsky went out there and started blasting people. You got to get off the field. You have man coverage. It didn't make any sense because everybody that's watching it goes, you're not tailoring your scheme to what you have. And bottom line, the losing sunk in. There's a lot of injuries, and everything that happens to a failed head coach happened to Matt Patricia, and he deserved to get broomed out. I think he's going to have success, but not in the NFL. I think if he wants to have a long, sustained career, he's got to go the Nick Saban route. Find a mid-tier program, raise him up. I think his shtick would work a lot better in college than
There's no way. There's no way.
I see it.
If he addresses his players the way he talked to these men in this locker room, there is no way in hell. This is the problem. I know you think it's soft. It's absolutely not soft. There is a way to lead grown-ass men, and then there is a way to sit there and to condescend them and talk down to them. And that is what he did, and that's why none of these players respected him.
But then why would you get, the likes of Duron Harmon, Trey Flowers, talented individuals? I think that, in combination with not putting the right pieces
Trey
out there.
Flowers has been a bust since he's come here, and Duron Harmon's not anything special to write home about. These are all guys who schlepped that Patriot way. And the whole thing with the Patriot way, it all starts with Belichick. If you're Belichick, you can talk to anybody however you want. You could come into this room right now and talk to my mother wrong. It's fine. Right. Because it's Bill Belichick. He's got enough rings on his hands. He's got enough clout. You are a guy who worked underneath Belichick. The only reason you have your ring is because Belichick put you in a position to succeed. That's the thing that these guys who leave the Patriot coaching tree don't understand. Your job is to put players and put your organization in a position to win. Just because you come from there doesn't mean you get a hall pass. Doesn't mean you get a pass to do whatever it is the hell that you want. It's not how it works. Just because you have a ring on your finger, you didn't earn that ring. Belichick earned you that ring. You just happen to be the guy who is sitting in the seat who ends up calling a play or gets a title. That's all that is. You haven't earned anything. So that's the whole issue with Patricia. He comes in, he thought he earned everything and thought he could act how Bill acts. You're not Bill Belichick. You're Matt Patricia. You have a Super Bowl win to your record, and that was as a defensive coordinator, and you had a guy and Patrick Chen who made an absolute outstanding play. And if you want to take all the credit for putting him in that position to make that play, fantastic. But you know what? When you came to Detroit, you didn't put any of your players in a good spot to make any good plays, and it showed. Your history shows over the course of 2.5 years, you bumbled it, and you took an organization that was 9-7, and you brought them to the doldrums where you struggled to win 3 wins every single year. So go kick rocks, Matty P. And you know what? Take Bob Quinn with you.
Absolutely. I think the biggest mistake was after a coach that the players loved and respected, you went out and brought a hard-nosed coach to take it to the next level. I think you would have been better served to get a little bit more of a players-friendly coach. But I think it's football. You're going to get yelled at and things like that. But I don't know. I think, the thing that maybe was the fine point was the level of respect and the losing. And I also think that people stop believing when you're touted as a defensive guy and your defense looks like that you don't belong out on the football field with anybody out there. Look, other head coaches are dealing with injuries, and they go out and they have a top 5 defense. So I think therein lies is the buy-in where you go, man, what's this guy talking about? He's trying to have us do man, zone. Dude, Darius Slay kind of hinted at it, when he watched the Thanksgiving game. He said, man, those corners' hamstrings are going to be burning. What does that mean? That means that these players are going out there grinding in man coverage, and they're going to come away injured. They're going to come away not in the best spot because there's not it's a philosophy that doesn't make any sense. You want us to cover for 12 seconds where there's no pressure, and then you're going to come back and yell at us when we don't cover anybody, or you wonder why everyone's wide open and everyone's like Justin Coleman's on one side of the field and the play's going to the complete opposite side of the field because of all the errors that were made. So I think the buy-in went away and eroded as the season progressed because everybody saw it. That defensive scheme was never going to work in today's NFL, and thank gosh it's over. And look, you could make the argument they could have did it sooner, but look, there's also a factor is nobody wants to pay 2 people 3 years to not do their job. Matt Patricia and Bob Quinn still got a couple years left on their deal, so they're going to get a sweetheart deal to walk away from this and then potentially go back to New England and figure out whatever it is next for them. But for the Detroit Lions, it's a new day. What should the Detroit Lions be looking for in their next head coach? Is it offense, or is it defense? Because I'm on the train that, look, the offense kind of can be probably put together by a coordinator rather quickly. The defense looks like it's going to need a miracle to get put back together. So I would go with a defensive head coach. I know who I want. My one, the odds-on gambling favorite to get the job, hometown guy, Lebanese guy, Robert Saleh. Richard Sherman just praised him up and down. You look at the 49ers' top 5 defense with a myriad of injuries, universally respected, was in the Super Bowl. I think he's got an opportunity to come in here and at least change the culture in probably the best way possible, where he can put in a proper defensive scheme and garner the respect of the players. Now, the other argument can be made that Eric Bieniemy's the guy, Matt Campbell, Lincoln Riley, offensive guru, Joe Brady. There's a lot of ways that this could go. In your mind, what's the best way? What's plan A? What should it be for Sheila Ford Hamp and Rod Wood when they sit down and go, okay, committee, tell us what we need to think?
So I'm not taking your bait. This is what I'll tell you. Whoever the next head coach is, he better work in lockstep with whoever your general manager is, and he better know what he knows. So in this case, if you know defense, that's fine. Have a staff, put your defensive staff together. Go get yourself the best damn offensive coordinator you can find who can handle that part of the ball for you. If you're an offensive guru, all right, cool. Know what you know. Go get yourself a defensive coordinator who knows defense and can handle that side of the ball for you. I'm tired of this organization being fractured and split down the middle. Whether you're a player's coach or you're a hard-nosed guy or you're an offensive mind and you're a defensive mind, there's always too much separation. You need this stuff to come together and start to work as a unit. And I think that's the one thing that you got out of this whole Bob Quinn, Matt Patricia era is it was really, really divisive, whether it was divisive in the locker room, whether it was divisive at top, whether it was divisive with the fan base. I mean, this is the thing. So when Bob Quinn was brought in, I think you and I were both pretty excited about it. Even when Matt Patricia was brought in, I think we were both pretty excited about it. We're like, okay, this looks like this could really, really work. But the entire fan base was not on board. And I'm not saying that when Sheila Hamp makes a call, the entire fan base has to be on board. But what I'm telling you is they have to go through the steps to where the fan base buys in, the front office and everybody in that organization buys in. I don't want Rod Wood and I don't want Sheila Hamp making this call. I want them to go out and I want them to get actual football people. You've got people who are very close to this organization, who have a say and have a feeling as to what you can and what you should do. There are people out there, guys like Chris Spielman, guys like Tony Dungy. Those guys all feel connected to this organization in one way or another. Those are all exceptional football minds. Go get these people, put them on part of your panel, and have them make this call. Take it out of Sheila Hamp's hands, who obviously knows nothing about football. Take it out of Rod Wood's hands, who, by his own account, has come out and said, I don't know anything about football. I'm not a football guy. Then why the fuck are you here? Why are you running things? Doesn't make sense to me. I don't understand it. Well, all that being said.
Well, it does make sense because I know everyone's talking about Rod Wood, and you got to remember that he was not making football decisions. That was Bob Quinn. Bob Quinn was taking care of everything top down.
No, I get it. He's more of a money guy. I understand. But the fact that you're the fact that you're going to now sit in on who this next general manager is.
It's one of those deals that, yes.
It's an issue. And I get why the fan base is riled up about it. They should be.
Absolutely. But for Rod Wood, it's a great gig in that you've befriended somebody that you're close to, and they're like, hey, here's a bunch of money, do this job. Help, run this thing and help Ford Field look better, help the money situation look right, make sure that the business operation and the marketing is done well. Now, when we decide to blow out our general manager, you get a seat at the table and you get to build the connections. He wasn't just sitting there. Look, no, he's not making the decision, obviously. The thing that people want is that anything associated with the past to be gone. And I think that the firing was a little light. You should have fired the director of scouting, the VP of operations, anything football related that involved talent, and whoever was brought here should be gone. Like, you think that bringing in Kevin Strong on the practice squad really is going to do anything? You did the same thing, months ago. And I just think that they should have completely cleaned house, fire everybody associated with talent development, scouting, anything involving football has to start fresh. Rod Wood is a family friend, and he's going to sit in on the meetings, and he's going to take the information. But he's not making a decision. He's going to say, I think that based on the committee's recommendation, I'm going to like it. Or he's going to say, I'm not going to like it. But bottom line, Sheila's going to make it. She's 70. She's still got her wits about her. The problem is that I'm always of the opinion when you defer stuff to other people, there's always agendas involved. There's always, some politicking involved. That's why Sheila Ford Hamp, being the primary owner that doesn't really know a lot of football, I mean, she basically punted an important question that I asked about Matthew Stafford. You're going to defer the biggest decision in your organization to the coaches? No, You're paying the man. And I it's quick pace. So that's why, my follow-up was quick, because you get like this, boom, and then they mute you, and then you move on to the next person.
Here's the thing. Your question was great. You did a fantastic job in a ton of the guys ended up grabbing your question and running with her answer. So good on you. You did a really good job. She was so ill prepared for that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think that
what does that tell you about your owner? No, that's why I don't want her to necessarily. I want her to have a say, but I don't want her to be necessarily involved in making the selection, because your job should just be like, yeah, you guys say that's the best guy. Let's go with that guy.
Exactly. And she's going to defer. That's what I'm saying, is that in regards to Stafford, it's like you're paying the man $27 million. You're that rich that it's not a big deal. If the coach says, yeah, it's great. If the coach says no, that's great too. And I know that you don't want to tie Matthew Stafford to the organization. She handled the question in the best way possible so that, you don't have the whole other I love Jim Caldwell situation. And I think that the answer was fair, but I would say this. Something has to change in regards to the instincts of the Ford family. It just seems like when you should zig, they zag. When you should zag, they zig. When you need this coach, you get that coach. So that's why it's really important to wonder, what does this team need? Do they need someone to coddle them? And here's the thing. This organization is run so interestingly. If Darrell Bevell gets 4 or 5 wins, there's everyone thinks, oh, Bevell's gone. There's a chance that you go, hey, let's keep Bevell. He can be a transitional coach. And there's a strategy that I saw online that's pretty fair. Why not Bevell now to be the transitional coach in a rebuild? And it's a secret rebuild where, look, Bevell's the guy. You run the offense. You keep Stafford for a year, maybe draft a quarterback. But you don't get the big hire now. You just roll with Bevell, tank for a couple years, get the top 10 picks over the next 2 or 3 years. Let the general manager come in, be saddled with Bevell, and then you give the next general manager, okay, not 5 years, you give him like 7, and you say your first 2 years are free. This is a kind of a transition. Would you be on board with a rebuild with Bevell as a transitional guy? Because look, this is not going to be, if Saleh comes in, his first year is a wash. Because you got to get rid of Harmon, you got to get rid of Ragland, you got to get rid of Tavai, Davis, probably look to trade Trey Flowers. That first couple years is going to be horrible. So why put that on someone like that now? Roll with somebody that's been here before. Understand that, look, basically Bevell can be Dwayne Casey. You on board with that in any kind of way?
No, because the NFL is one of those leagues where
you don't get patience.
You can turn it around very, very quickly.
You can.
And if you're a good general manager and you're good at scouting talent, I mean, look at arguably the best quarterback in the league right now. Patrick Mahomes was drafted 15th, 13th, 12th? Yeah. He was drafted late. Right now, Lions are in a spot this year where they're going to be drafting they're in the 9th spot currently. You figure if Bevell gets a couple of wins, maybe that moves up, maybe it moves down, depending on how the teams in front do. So we'll say you're drafting at worst 12th. No, I think you
win now, baby. I can go with that.
It's not even win now. It's develop now and get the foundation right so you can actually win in 3 years. I mean, that's what I want. I want you to be a contender. I want you to go get your head coach. I want you to go get your GM, and I want you to put this thing together right. I want you to lay a foundation. Your first year, it's all about laying a foundation. I'm not expecting you to compete for the playoffs. We've already talked about how bad this team is and how bad they're saddled with either bad talent or guys that just really shouldn't be on this roster.
Okay.
Your first year, lay the foundation. You come back that next year. I want you to be competing. I want you to play meaningful games in December. The year after that, your third year, you should be in contention for a playoff spot, if not a division title. And that's what I want.
Okay, lightning round before we start talking about Jim Harbaugh. I'm just going to throw out the coaching names. You don't have to say if you're a favorite. Just what percentage of success do you see for these top 4 or 5 names? And make sure to tune into Detroit Sports Podcast as we break through and highlight all the interviews that we hear. SI All Lions will be here to look at who's going to be talked about for general manager and head coach. Okay, percentage chance of success, lightning round. Robert Saleh.
I would say 85%.
Eric Bieniemy.
I would say 65%. I don't believe he's the one who's calling all of the. I don't think he's the brain trust over in Kansas City. I think it's more Andy Reid.
Panthers OC Joe Brady.
75%.
Matt Campbell, college name, hot coach, Iowa State.
I would say 62%.
62%. Okay. Any chance at all Jim Harbaugh gets a look? What percentage chance if he comes to the Detroit Lions to have success?
I think he's a really good head coach. I don't know what the hell's going on in Michigan. He looks beat up right now. He looks ran ragged, and we'll talk about it in a few minutes. I think if he wanted to tackle this job and he came in with the vigor that he went into Michigan with, not where he's at now, but what he went into Michigan with, I think, and he had some say in what the players did. Because remember, the whole problem with San Francisco was he didn't get a whole lot of say with the guys that he wanted. They basically gave him the guys that they thought that he needed. I think if he had a little bit of a say and he had a better relationship with the GM, I would say probably 73% he'd be successful.
Lincoln Riley.
I really like Lincoln Riley. 81%.
Okay, and 2 dark horses. Dallas Cowboys offensive coordinator Kellen Moore.
No.
Exactly.
Just no.
Okay.
Just no.
No, exactly. Exactly.
No.
No chance at all. LA Rams offensive coordinator Kevin O'Connell.
55%.
Okay, good. I like it. So while he didn't say it, he did fall into the trap. The odds-on favorite to have the best success is Robert Saleh, the odds-on favorite, the Lebanese guy, the guy that will come in here and turn it around, and we could dance on Woodward unified, all creeds and cultures, dancing to,
Tabbouleh for everyone.
Tabbouleh for everyone. It would literally be the most crazy, unique situation to have a Middle Eastern reporter covering a Middle Eastern head coach, the first ever Arabic head football coach in the National Football League, Detroit Lions, and it would be crazy. Like I said,
the best part would be if you could speak any Arabic and you guys could talk Arabic to each other during the press conference.
Exactly. I'm going to say, ya hala, baby. Congratulations, Habibi. What's going on? But I got to find out. That was the
dude. If he's the guy who gets picked, you need to. You're the very first opening press conference. You have to go in just like that.
Exactly. Be like, talking like that. He's gonna be like, what? I got to find out if he does speak it. That'd be great. I'd be like, yes, it's the best thing.
He has to. He's from Dearborn. Come on.
He has to, right? 200% Lebanese parents. Oh my God, I can't believe it's so close. I got a feeling it's right there. The name has to be there. But the problem was he choked away the Super Bowl. The defense had a role in that Super Bowl, man. He did, like when the time came, you let, the guy that, what does he do? Throw the ball deep. You let him throw the ball deep. So does he learn from it? Does he burn inside? Can he overcome the curse? It's like with the Lions, it's like a 1 million pound weight on you. You got to sift through. Can you do it? And the big decision you got to make is because I got a feeling Saleh's going to come in and be like, I love Matthew Stafford. He's a legend. I was like, no, Robert, you have to know. Broom this man out. Why can't anybody say broom him out? Just say, yes, we need another coach. We need another quarterback. Just say it. It's not bad. He wants to leave. You can tell. He's like, his boy every week is like dropping not so subtle hints. It's done. It's failed.
His
it's
press
not
conferences lately have basically told you all you need to know
he's
about
done.
where he stands with this organization.
He's done. He's tired. He's burnt out. He's burnt out of it. And can you blame him? I mean, he's answering the same questions all the time. Same thing. What you're going to be known as a coach killer here. Go somewhere else and just start over. It's done. He knows it. They know it. Everyone knows it. Let's just move on. Or draft the quarterback, let him train for a year and move on. Get the Alex Smith treatment and let's keep it rolling. You just got to trust the process. Just like Jim Harbaugh. You
nice segue.
It was. You got to trust the process for Sheila Ford Hamp, for Michigan. And I think I've never really thought in a day when we would cover Michigan that they would kind of be irrelevant. to the point where when we say Jim Harbaugh, like I literally thought that when we wrote, should Jim Harbaugh be the coach, we'd have a lot more yeses. Universally, 85% was no, and was even chastising me for asking that question. Irregardless of the fact the man did have success in the NFL. He did coach against his brother in the Super Bowl. He's not a bust in the NFL, but the name Jim Harbaugh has now become synonymous with toxicity, with losing to an 0-5 Penn State team, not adapting well, not playing well. And yet you come out and you discuss the process, which I think upset a lot of people because after 6 years, and I think that's where a lot of people lose in terms of coaches, lose support, is when you're talking about fundamentals, pad level, processes, when you're 3 years in or 6 years in, it's about results, wins and losses, competition, making the right call at the key situations. Nobody cares about the process. Nobody cares about the fact that, hey, you graduate people or, hey, you're running a clean program. No, it's about, are the players going out there with the talent that you have that everyone says is decent and getting the best out of them? Losing to Penn State and losing a ton of games at home and the way in which now everyone compares Michigan to Ohio State and the vast comparison has now made Jim Harbaugh somebody where I never thought we'd see this. And as much joking, all kidding aside, I never saw a time when people would message us, I'm not watching Michigan football until Harbaugh's gone. And now you're hamstrung because of the fact that he doesn't want to leave probably, and the university likes him because this really is the first losing season that he had, but he gets the excuse of being COVID and a lot of different things, losing a lot of different talent. So Michigan's situation is messed up, but for him to come out and say the process, I thought was really wild, and I thought that the reaction was like, what? It's a results-oriented business. You can't lose 5 and 6 games at Michigan and have people care, especially in a time when Ohio State is throttling it down. They're still undefeated.
Yeah, I think this is where you start to see the head football coach of the University of Michigan starting to crack and starting to wilt. This looks like he's got... It looks almost as if when he was in San Francisco, where he was like, I just want to be anywhere else but here. And I'm not sure what's gone bad here. I'm not sure what hasn't worked. If you remember when he came in 6 years ago, like so much piss and vinegar, he was ready to set the world on fire. And then over the course of the last, I'd say maybe 2 or 3 years, he's kind of dialed it down, dialed it back so much this year where he doesn't even look like the same man, doesn't even look like the same person. And now we're talking about the process. The process is something that you talk about in year one. The process is something you talk about in the first part of year 2. You don't talk about the process in year 6. Not when you're going out and you're getting, by all accounts, according to all of the recruiting evaluators, when you're going out and you're getting top 10, top 15 recruiting classes. You have talent here. Your job is to develop that talent. The one thing that you've never been able to do here is develop a quarterback. It's totally let you down to this point. You've had defensive players go high in the NFL draft. Your defense, when you needed to step up big, has let you down. There are things that you as a head football coach haven't been able to do, and now you want to look back at the process and you want to point to good things. We graduate student athletes. We're not cheating. We run a clean program. We're doing this. We're doing that. Okay, fantastic. But when you go and you meet Ohio State, they rub your face in the sand. When you get blown out by Penn State, who was 0-5, and look, James Franklin's not a very good head coach. He's a very good recruiter, but he's not a very good head coach. And you end up getting beat by him. When you get throttled by Wisconsin, when you have to be in a competitive game that goes to 3 overtimes against Rutgers, and now this is year 6, your entire system, everything that you run should basically just you should walk in and the whole thing should just be cooking from the time you walk into the building to the time that you leave at night. And then you just hit repeat. You shouldn't have to instill a process. You shouldn't have to go through and do all this heavy lifting. It's not like you've totally revamped what Michigan football is. It's not where we're at with this. You're in year 6 where you should be picking your quarterback and it should be plug and play. And if your quarterback isn't getting the job done, you should have a backup who should be ready to go and who should be plug and play. And that's where you should be with this team right now. With this whole process, I'm using finger quotes here, this whole system, that's where you need to be. The fact that you were talking about the process and you look totally bewildered, and he looks so out of it. Like every press conference, every post-game press conference, dude, he looks just like a walking zombie.
It's bad. And
I don't understand what is going on. Like, like I'll be honest with you. This is in all seriousness now, right? Like taking the whole fandom aspect out of this conversation. It wouldn't surprise me if when this season is done, if he steps away, because I'm preparing for him to step away from the University of Michigan. If he steps away and it comes out that he is really, really sick, like he has something going on, whether he's battling some type of cancer, whether he's battling some type of other illness that has just basically zapped him, because he does not look like the same man that he was even 6 months ago. It's absolutely nuts to see this guy up there because he has zero life, like zero energy. I don't know if he needs some more of that. What is it? That Fairfields or Fairland's milk? I don't know what it is. He needs something else to get him juiced up because he looks like he's just a walking dead man right now.
Yeah, duh. I got the diagnosis. Coaching Michigan makes you depressed. Duh. Ann Arbor is artistic. It's not fun. You know, you got to deal with trying to whoop on Ohio State, and he's coming out saying, I'm going to come and whoop 100 on you and put you down, and nothing's going well, and you now have basically lost all the positive favor and fever that you've attained in the first 5 years. And it's just obviously depressing. It's no fun. And obviously coaching in this day and age where you're getting tested every day, you can't move, you're restricted all the time. And within one wrong move and the whole program gets shut down with coronavirus. So it's just all the way around a bad situation. Whereas in East Lansing, we're getting top 10 victories, baby. We're upsetting people. We're coming in and being 25-point underdogs. And at least I'll say this, okay? With Mel Tucker, he's starting to show that you give him 5 days to prepare and something good's going to come of it. The next evaluation is going to come in and go, okay, when you're competing with that cornerback that wants to go to Michigan and Michigan State, does he go to State? That's going to be the key because Tucker can coach. And the number one thing that's going to determine success in any college program is the level of talent that you're starting to coach. And if Tucker can get that quarterback, can get a couple, defensive studs and that stud running back wide receiver, look out. The man can coach. Northwestern, baby, ruining their season. It was great. Michigan State right now, they get their bye season. That's good. You're starting to see the imprints of Mel Tucker. Complete opposite actions that you're seeing. Two teams going in opposite directions. But we'll end with this. Does Jim Harbaugh get any sort of pass because of the circumstances, knowing that this is going to be he's had a winning tenure every single year except this one. Does he get any pass and you go, look, just coronavirus, all the transfers, the injuries, Hutchinson, whatever's gone on with Milton, maybe now we got the quarterback and he got hurt. Do you give him a pass and go, that's just too much for anybody's going to have a down year? And in the grand scheme of things, if a college team just doesn't want to stay consistent and they just want to broom a coach after one losing season, there's no guarantee you get back to 9 or 10 wins with somebody else. But that's the goal. That's obviously the reason why you would make the move. Would you be upset if Ward Manuel doubled down and gave him the contract and just said, look, it is what it is. You get 3 years. You get a couple more opportunities to coach this team. Would you be upset?
What would Michigan football look like in 3 years then? Does it look any better than what it is right now?
It's 9-3. I think the ceiling 9-3, 10-2, a couple bad losses against Ohio State until Ryan Day leaves. That's the ceiling.
Then no.
Okay.
Like that's not acceptable. And it's not even so much that you're having a losing season. It's the way you're losing games. And it's how you look. It's the eyeball test when it comes down to it.
I don't get it. It's like everyone knows Don Brown's defense is struggling. What's taking so long? I know that there's loyalty, but he's not going to go away and become homeless. He's got to get a deal. If you fire him, he gets paid. And the man is old. He shouldn't be sitting there at Schembechler Hall trying to draw up game plans for these 18-year-olds. Get someone young and get someone with experience. Gaddis is a failed experiment. I mean, when you run a 4th and 1 out of a shotgun, time in and time out, and it doesn't work, and you keep going back to it, the man is not doing the job properly. I don't understand why that's the idea of how to run to establish a running, we got Haskins. He's lighting it up. Let's sit his ass on the bench the next couple series. In no shape, way, or form is that ever going to be acceptable. Haskins performs. Haskins stays on the field. That's kind of common sense. But Gaddis is taking him off for whatever reason, and I understand. I think that Harbaugh just has to figure out how to get coaches in here that are going to be stellar, that he can move on to get head coaching jobs. You got to get that quarterback that's going to be in the pros. You got to shape up. And I don't know if he's just gotten too high on the hog where he's like, donors love me, money's coming in, we're good. Kind of like just kind of acting like the Sheila Ford Hamp of college football where you're like, well, we're going to sell out. Merchandise looks good. Yeah, we got a couple loud podcasters talking about, we're not that good. But by and large, I got 60% of support. Let's keep it rolling. I don't know, man, because you and I are more like, hey, if you're not number one, then it's a disaster. Second place is the worst. And I don't understand what Michigan's doing at this point in time. But I do think he's going to get the new contract because I think you might see it in the next 10 days. You're starting to hear the whispers pop up that they're not going to, could you imagine? Because the optics would look terrible. Michigan loses 75-10. Oh, announcement where we've signed Jim Harbaugh to 5 more years. You got to do it now. You got to do it. And even though Kirk Herbstreit took a lot of shit for what he said, if you're Michigan, you might just want to play up that coronavirus and be like, look, is there any way we can say we got 20 people that got it? Because we can wait. I'm serious. Waving the white flag is not a bad thing because you're destined to get embarrassed. Embarrassed with a capital E on a big time scale. And that's not the message you want to see. So this week is an interesting week for Michigan in that they've kind of been operating virtually. If you can make that decision, I say you wave the white flag and you don't roll up and play Ohio State because you're going to get your ass kicked.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to surprise me if Ohio State puts 75 on there. I know Ryan Day wants to hang 100, but...
And you ruin their season because then they don't qualify for the Big Ten tournament and they can't qualify for shit. So it's a win-win all the way around, right?
Yeah, I mean, if there's a way for Michigan to stop somebody, that would be the way to do it.
Make sure to follow Adam on Twitter at AdamRSTROZ. Follow the network at Detroit Podcast. Always enjoy breaking down sports. Thank you guys for making Detroit Sports Podcast and SI All Lions a place to get some sports information, get your audio content, and it's real cool to see others giving it a whirl and the way the podcast game has evolved with those really taking a serious effort into it. And in the last 7 years, people know I've never gotten responses or messages from people that said, hey, I heard you talking to Sheila Ford Hamp. And so it's only because of you guys and your support allowing a podcaster to cover the Detroit Lions and to talk and speak freely about the teams that we cover. And it's a good thing, and it's fun. And make sure you hit up Adam if you agree or disagree with anything that he's said. If you're on the Michigan bandwagon and you think that he's just too much of a hater, let us know at AdamRSJROZ at Detroit Podcast, because this was a great recording. We're inching ever so close to number 400, and I was just looking through the pictures of number 300. They've flown by, and each and every week has been a great opportunity to talk sports. It's always the best part of my week.
Yeah, man, it's been, like you said, it's damn near been a decade, so it's been a good time.
Yes, sir. Let's talk soon.